Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the White Feather Counsel of Men podcast. I am Philip White here with my co-host Warren Hammonds, and we are delighted that you chose to join us. That is not robbery of your time. We appreciate that. This evening, we're going to unpack a subject that we've been doing research on and coming up with different articles. And we started with this young man in a high school student in the state of Michigan. I guess did an essay. I just called it an essay for a class presentation, and it was about America and is America the justice in America. He spoke about that as a high school student, and that article made us begin to take a deep dive into America when we talk about justice and where we are at this current state. And in the midst of that, we decided to, Warren had the opportunity to attend a festival here in Richmond. And there was a recording artist, and Warren's going to give you more details on it in a few minutes, that sung a song that just brought him to tears. So we decided to kind of go back and look at some different things that we've come across as it relates to America, and the issue of particularly African American men and boys growing up in America, how that has been a very hazardous journey, so to speak. You know, how we are born, and are we able to live a life without being subjected to all kinds of trauma as well as death. So in the midst of that, we started to, again, as I said, pull some things that we knew had been addressed as it relates to the unique characteristics of African American males in America. And it was in 2020 when Congresswoman Frederica Wilson out of the state of Florida got this bill passed in Congress for to create a commission of the social status of black men and boys. Nancy Pelosi signed it and it sent it on through to be passed. Now, what's going on with that commission as today, right now, I'm not aware, but I think that's a step that people are beginning to recognize. And in this particular article that I found on this, it stated that throughout history, that black boys and men's very existence is often seen as a threat. So that's a very, very difficult thing to be, for people to feel that way. Let me make it personal about me. I don't feel like I'm a threat to anyone. I have a son. He's been blessed to make it to his late 30s. But it's always been an issue when black men, when we know our wives or our partners having a son, that it takes us to a level of anticipation that is hard to describe because we want to get them ready. I heard so many men talk about, I got to get them ready, got to get them ready. And the question is, ready for what? And I think what we're trying to articulate that when we say that is that we're trying to get him ready to navigate to the best that he can in America. And hopefully when he may face some form of racism or discrimination or contacts with law enforcement, it doesn't damage him emotionally, you see. Because we know at some point in our children's lives, particularly our male children, they may have some type of encounter either in school or just driving down the street. The other day, my wife and I were with her sorority doing a breast cancer walk out at Libby Mill here in the area, and one of her sorority sisters has a son, and he's 24 now, and he had told his mother that he did not want to get a driver's license. And when she said, well, I want him to get one, and that made me think about that for this generation of young black males, a lot of them, and females as well, choosing not to get a driver's license. And I think it's kind of related back to what I was told when I was a teenager growing up in Norfolk, Virginia, that our parents would always tell us, when you guys out there, don't be running nowhere. Don't just walk. Don't be running nowhere. Don't stop running. And we couldn't understand it. But now at my age, I understand exactly what they were trying to tell me, because I guess as this article talked about, that to see a black male anywhere could be perceived as a threat. So if I'm running somewhere, I guess law enforcement or other people could assume I must be doing something wrong. So it's a difficult journey. Yeah. It's a very, very difficult journey. So CDC, the Center for Disease Control, also found that racism is considered a public health problem. And so we got these governmental agencies doing things, statues are being removed and all kinds of things. But is that enough? Is that really enough? Just, renaming streets and renaming military bases and things like that. But is it really getting to the core of where we are as a country? So again, I said that Warren had the opportunity to meet this particular artist. And as I could say, it was a very touching moment. Then when he shared with me the song, I just, you just had to sit and absorb it and recognize the reality of this song. So I'm going to turn it over to Warren now to take us on over.
Well, thanks, Phil. And the song is really going to be the meat of our session tonight. We might unpack it a bit afterwards, pull out some key words and phrases. When I heard it, I was moved for sure. It left me in tears. And by the way, I wasn't the only one left like that in this tent full of listeners. It's very personal, you're going to hear. The artist is Melody Angel. This piece is called In This America, but it's sort of interesting how the pieces do flow together from one conversation to the other. Right. Last podcast, we dealt with Javon Kay's award-winning article from school, where he questioned, is this really the land of the free? And is there justice for all, as our Constitution says? And here's another person, an African-American woman, older than a teenager that Javon is. So two different voices, but similar messages of maybe how America has betrayed them. It's not really the land of the free, and you'll hear this in her words. So she brings it. And I did listen to another video of this song, and she introduced it by saying that when we hear of these boys' murders on the street by police officers, by others, that we get angry. And that's okay to some extent, but she's calling us beyond the anger. She is saying, don't just be angry, but for things to change, you need to hear. You need to really listen to the pain, my story. And this is it. This is her story and how she tells it. We're going to listen to it now. Melody Angel, In This America.
These people have deluded themselves for so long that they really don't think I'm human. I had basis on their conduct, not on what they say.
In this America, in this America, how do I know it's safe to have my son? In this America, in this America, I always wanted a son. But now I'm afraid. How will you see my baby? How will you treat my baby? How will I protect him from you? Protect him from your fears after all these years. Tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me. I don't wanna be like those other mothers crying in the streets. No, 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 no. Their pain radiates. Their pain radiates. I don't fate. Nah, nah. What if I raise him right? Will that save his life? Tell me, tell me, tell me. I just want him to grow old. I just want him to come home. Have a son in this America, in this America. How do I know it's safe to have my son in this America? Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, just to name a few. What did they ever do to you? What did they ever do to you? How do I know it's safe to have my son, my baby boy in this America, in this America? He don't mean you no harm. He don't mean you no harm. Tell me what do I gotta do? Tell me what do I gotta do? He don't mean you no harm. He don't mean you no harm. Tell me what do I gotta do? Tell me what do I gotta do? Tell me. I just want a place where I can live under God's grace, safe, safe from harm. No bullets flying, no mothers crying. I just want a
people have deluded themselves for so long that they really don't think I'm human. I base this on their conduct, not on what they say.
Thanks for your time to listen. It was worth my 6.5 to 7 minutes. Some powerful words, stirring, emotional. It's obvious that she certainly doesn't feel the sense of freedom that we all ought to have, ought to share, and are meant to have. Sure, the laws might say the land of the free and justice for all, but experiences can be different. And the way you feel about that maybe is the more reality. In another interview, I think it was on NPR that I saw of Melody Angel about this song, she sort of introduced it with this statement. I just want to live in the same America as white people live in. If her words from the song or these words of interview don't make us question what's happening in America, don't stir us to do more, to be more, to listen more to the pain, to listen more to stories, and then to respond to what happens in our culture, I don't know what will.
Right. Yeah, this is very sobering moment for both Warren and I. I think it was just a few days ago in Chicago. A little 6-year-old boy was stabbed multiple times by his landlord. His mother was also stabbed, but she was hospitalized, but she seemed like she's going to be okay. But the little 6-year-old boy died. And the man that did this horrible act, of course, he's incarcerated, and it feels like he's going to be charged with multiple hate crimes. From what's been said over the news, he did this to this child, this baby boy, because he was a Muslim. His faith, his mother, he 6 years old. He wasn't anything but a child. He wasn't. He couldn't determine what religion his family was from and that, but his mother and him lived in this apartment complex, and this person was, quote unquote, the landlord, and he attacked this little baby boy, 6 years old, killed him. And in Melody's song, paragraph 3, she said, how do I protect him from your fear? Mm-hmm. And that word fear has seemed to have always crippled America.
And we've used it here several times.
That's right. Yeah, fear. This thing about fear. And Miss Wilson's bill she got passed in Congress back in 2020, it was quoted that just the mere existence of black men and boys creates a certain fear, and you have to wonder, after all these years, that's what Melanie said, after all these years, here we are still dealing with something like that. What more can we do to just prove to people all we want is our 40 acres and a mule? Just let us be. Just let us raise our families. Take care of what we got to take care of. And just be left alone. And in reference to America, and when there has been, historically speaking, when there has been separation forced upon us, and we go and find a little parcel of land and we build a community, and then see then the field turns to jealousy, and people come and burn down the whole community. And you know, it's just like, what do you have to do to really make America a just place for everyone? We're not there. We're not there. You know, if CDC, if the Center for Disease Control can say that racism is a public health problem, we got a problem. We really do have a problem. And after all these years, it's just amazing that this young country is still holding itself together.
Yeah.
You know, because
This song is just crying out for a safe place, a safe home. And when everyone doesn't feel it, there is a betrayal of the system. I will say, you know, we always try to look to at least some movement, some positive point. I have a 20-page document right here. It's a government document. And I'm going to read a little bit of it, but it's something that Biden signed his very first day in office within the first several hours of his administration, which is a good thing. But it was advancing equity and racial justice through the federal government, and it's pretty much the charge that he gave in the Executive Order 13985. And I'll just read it because it is a glimpse of hope, at least systemically. Yeah. Some things might be in motion for some things to change, but it has to go far beyond just this top line of government. It doesn't include that system, of course. It is therefore the policy of my administration that the federal government should pursue a comprehensive approach to advancing equity for all, including people of color and others who have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality. Affirmatively advancing equity, civil rights, racial justice, and equal opportunity is the responsibility of the whole of our government. And the rest of this 20 pages is basically how the 90 agencies across the federal government have been challenged or called to put into practice some action plans for this executive order to begin to have some impact within their realm of justice, within their realm of action in our society. But he also says in the same piece that it's a multi-generational commitment, and it's going to require sustained leadership for years. So, you know, yes, we have the words in the law that say what America ought to be, how America should be moving, but we need to see it in our daily lives, and we need to feel it. Yeah. You can sign us off when you're ready, but I'm going to finish with these words, and it's a quote that I used in an earlier podcast because it's similar to what Melody Angel's words were asking for, and that is our understanding and our listening to the stories and the pain of a society that we might not know because we're white. And it goes beyond empathy. But here's a quote from John Griffin in 1977, a white man, that said, "The only way I could hope to understand anything about the plight of black people would be to wake up some morning in a black man's skin." Well, Phil, I cannot wake up in your skin.
That's right. Right.
As much as I would like to or want to understand, I can't. So I'm depending on stories like Melody's, stories like yours, and conversations with people like you to help me better understand what it might be like to walk a day in your skin. And that's what this song tries to impart, and that's why I was moved by it and why we need to do more.
And you know, it speaks
Thanks.
to. I want anyone that's taking the time to view this podcast to take a deep look at us, Warren and I. This was created. It was intentional for us to be together to present these very personal messages that we share each time we come on this podcast. That myself, as an African American male, and Warren as a white male, that we have learned so much from each other, our common journeys that we've have, our different journeys that we have, just based on the fact of the road I had to take versus the roads he had to take. We had a conversations about the talk that most African American families know about, the talk that we have to have primarily with our sons on how they should behave and act if they have any interactions with law enforcement. And Warren, his response to us talking about that has just kind of sealed itself in my soul, where he said, I never had to have that type of talk with my son. And it just speaks to the reality, historically speaking, right to this present day, that how different we have to tread this landscape we call America for Warren versus me. And until we can face that and own that, and do our best as individuals, and to come out your own little cave, so to speak, and if you don't have a good, functional, healthy, emotional, spiritual relationship with someone who don't look like you, then you should make that effort to do that. Put it out there, because this relationship has benefited both of us in a very personal way. Very personal way. We're very transparent. We're very transparent about our journeys as men in America. My role as an African American male and his role as a white male. And I couldn't be more grateful for. I say this. I just think that if you live your life in a sense of seeking to be the best person you can be, in a sense of harmony and grace, and have some sense of that you're not here just to walk in your own private space. You're here to connect to people. You're here to be a creature of service in some form or fashion. And the day you stop living in that space, you pretty much, what are you here? What's your purpose in life if you don't have something to give to the greater community as a whole? So, we got a long way to go. But we have to have faith. We have to address all of the systemic issues in America that keep people apart, and give us a sense of hope and a sense of purpose. So that's our goal. That's why we're doing this. There's a certain benefit that Warren and I, we just love having the opportunity to do this. We didn't choose this type of work. This work chose us. The people that was responsible for it, the church that was responsible for it, asked us to be part of it. And I close with this. The executive producer of this podcast, Patricia Jones-Turner, I've known her for many years, and her church in Charlottesville is the host of this podcast. And when she first invited me to come to the church there, to just have a workshop, so to speak, on black men, and I said, well, yeah, I can do that. And I was not prepared for what I walked into, because I was anticipating that I was going to be in a room full of folks that look like me. But lo and behold, when I walked in there, it was like 95% white males and females. And it kind of shocked me for a moment, because I'm talking about black men. And the title of the presentation was The Fear of Black, there's that word again, The Fear of Black Men. And I just had a flashback to my own childhood, because I was raised in the city of Norfolk, Virginia. If there was anyone I needed to fear, was white men. That's how I was raised. And to this day, even at my advanced age now, I'm conscious of white men when they in my space. I'm not afraid of them, but I'm conscious of them because history says I should be. I would be a fool not to be aware of them in my public space. Okay, so yeah, this fear thing is stayed with us as a country far too long, and hopefully this will generate something in you to come get together with people in your social circle where you can begin to address this yourselves, and hopefully it can spill over to local, state, and federal levels that policymakers can begin to address this as well. That's my goal. That's my hope. That's my prayer that this can happen, and we're going to pray and continue to work towards it. At least us two will continue to do that.
Thank you for being with us tonight. But more, thank you for maybe what you'll do after tonight.
Yeah.
In terms of action, dialogues with others that you may not look like, and to try to change the tide of what's happening in the nation so that it can be a safe and free place for all.
And if you
Thank
like
you very
to,
much.
thank you. If you like to communicate with us, you can through our email, which it's White Feather Counsel of Men, but it's WF, that which stands for White Feather, WF Counsel of Men at gmail.com. Shoot us an email if you want to communicate with us, and we'll be more than happy to get back with you. But thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Be safe.